Hello everyone, welcome to SK Defense TV. Today I am going to show now Iran versus Israel military power comparison 2021. So let's get started. President Hassan Rouhani is the president of the Iran and Benjamin Netanyahu is prime minister of Israel. Capital: Tehran is the capital of Iran and Jerusalem is the capital of Israel. Land area: 1,648,195 square kilometer total area of Iran and 22,072 square kilometer total area of Israel. Global rank: 14 global rank of Iran and 20 global rank of Israel. Population: Iran 85 million and Israel 9 million. Total military: Iran 875,000 and Israel 635,000. Active personnel: Iran 525,000 and Israel 170,000. Reserve personnel: Iran 350,000 and Israel 465,000. Paramilitary: Iran 1,050,000 and Israel 8,000. Special Forces: Iran 34,000 and Israel 2,200. Nuclear weapons: Iran has no nuclear weapons and Israel 90. Main battle tank: Iran 3,709 and Israel 1,650. Infantry fighting vehicles: Iran 529 and Israel has no infantry fighting vehicles. Armored personnel carrier: Iran 2,675 and Israel 5,835. Armed fighting vehicles: Iran 8,500 and Israel 7,500. Artillery: Iran 5,353 and Israel 1,050. Self-prop artillery: Iran 770 and Israel 650. Field artillery: Iran 2,108 and Israel 300. Rocket artillery: Iran 2,475 and Israel 100. Ground-based ballistic missile: Iran 4 and Israel 4. Total aircraft: Iran 516 and Israel 595. Fighter aircraft: Iran 161 and Israel 241. Attack aircraft: Iran 23 and Israel 23. Strike: Iran 55 and Israel 25. Multi-role aircraft: Iran 36 and Israel 229. Bomber: Iran and Israel have no bomber. Tanker fleet: Iran 6 and Israel 11. Transport aircraft: Iran 85 and Israel 15. Total helicopters: Iran 99 and Israel 128. Attack helicopters: Iran 12 and Israel 48. Trainer aircraft: Iran 96 and Israel 154. Anti-aircraft missile system: Iran 6 and Israel 2. Serviceable airports: Iran 319 and Israel 42. Total naval assets: Iran 398 and Israel 65. Super carrier: Iran and Israel have no super carrier. Aircraft carrier: Iran and Israel have no aircraft carriers. Helicopter carriers: Iran and Israel have no helicopter carriers. Frigates. Iran 6 and Israel has no frigates. Destroyers. Iran and Israel have no destroyers. Corvettes. Iran 3 and Israel 4. Battlecraft. Iran 20 and Israel 48. Mine warfare craft. Iran 10 and Israel has no mine warfare craft. Submarines. Iran 29 and Israel 5. Ballistic missile submarines. Iran and Israel have no ballistic missile submarines. Nuclear submarines. Iran and Israel have no nuclear submarines. Attack submarines. Iran 3 and Israel 6. Defense budget. Iran 14.1 billion USD and Israel 16.6 billion USD. Nominal GDP. Iran 611 billion USD and Israel 410 billion USD. Purchasing power parity. Iran 1 trillion USD and Israel 372 billion USD. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe this channel.